Okay, folks, it is 6 p.m. So we'll begin this committee of the whole Monday, July the 6th. So we'll begin with our land acknowledgement. With gratitude, the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands acknowledges these lands and waters are the traditional territory of the Algonquin, Mississaugas, Mohawk, and Huron-Wendat. To recognize the role the township must play in truth and reconciliation, we also acknowledge the displacement of these peoples. Additionally, the township would like to respectfully acknowledge the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples who also call this place home. We make this land acknowledgement to honor the Indigenous ancestors who have stewarded these lands and waters since time immemorial. So we'll begin with the adoption of the agenda, moved by Councillor Leclerc, seconded by Councillor Robertson. Sorry, it's the signatures that throw me off. They're very similar. That the agenda be adopted as circulated. Any amendments, changes? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Any opposed? And it is carried. Next item on the agenda is declaration of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Does anybody have an interest to declare? No hands up. And there is no closed session this evening, so we'll go right into delegations. So we have the Rotary Club of Gananoque, Whitney Kilgore, to talk about Gray's Beach. So if you can come to the podium, and we'll make sure the microphone is on, and the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, thank you, first of all, for allowing us to speak to you this evening. The Rotary Club of Gananoque is, of course, located in Gananoque, but looking at our numbers, 60% of our membership actually lives in the township. So we are excited to be proposing a project within the township. And we are hoping that the Township Council will give us a letter of support going forward. This will help us not only with our agreements, but also perhaps in seeking further funding for our project. I said in the beginning, the Gananoque Rotary Club has actually partnered with the St. Lawrence Parks Commission, who are the people that are basically authorized to make decisions on the land and are the stewards of the land. Of course, everybody here is well familiar with St. Lawrence Parks Commission. We're quite happy to do this partnership because from what I understand, this is not a common thing. And we think this small park at Gray's Beach, small but quite crucial to our township community. If you're not aware where that is, down the parkway, about 2 kilometers outside of Gananoque, it is on the water. There is a small beach there. If you've ever driven by, you'll see that it is heavily used year-round. But you'll also see there's not much there for people. Some of us live very close by. Some of us, myself, and some of my committee is here with me today, have personal connections to the Gray family that originally owned the property. And we're well aware of the history of it, what it used to be in earlier days, how we've seen it kind of disintegrate and be a little bit neglected over the years, and how much it's used. Not just by visitors, but I live on the parkway. There is a lot of people from Gananoque in the township that also use that property, whether they're parking and they're biking down the bike path, they're swimming, they're picnicking, they're stopping in any time of the year to have their lunch. Unfortunately, they're usually sitting in their car. We are wanting to beautify Gray's Beach. Of course, we're keeping in mind that this is nature. We don't want to create some artificial area. We simply want to add some conveniences for the visitors and the users. We have proposed to add some benches, some chairs, some picnic tables that will be accessible. Most important, I think, which is not what some people think is an important thing, but it is to us, we want some kind of sign, some designation. No one knows what that area is. There used to be a sign there many years ago, and there is a sign right on the road right now that says Parkway information. Well, you go in, there's not a thing there. We want to promote our community. We want to have a sign up there that shows the trail, shows what else is going on in our township. These things are important, not just to the visitors that I said, but also to the people that live here. As an example, I have an apartment. My tenant has a 3-year-old, and I suggested, oh, you should go to the beach one day. You know, he'd probably love that. He said, what beach? He's lived here 2.5 years. He did not know what beach I'm talking about. I pointed out where it was. He said, oh, I thought that was a car park. It's full of cars all the time. So simple things like a sign are important to us, maybe not as important to others, but it's important to tourism too, which should be important to all of us. As I mentioned, some simple furnishings. We're doing very minimal landscaping, natural plants that are native to the community. The Parkway Commission is going to be handling the shoreline. So they're going to take care of all of those vegetation issues, planting, cutting hedges, whatever it might be. We also think, because it is a beach, there's a safety factor. Obviously, no one's putting lifeguards there. That's gone by the wayside many years ago. But we want to put a sign up there that, you know, swimming is at your own risk. We also propose to have a life ring there. These are simple little things that, you know, are information, preventative advice. If somebody's there, they do have something to use. The St. Lawrence Parks Commission is also going to be putting up some other safety things, like about campfires and camping overnight, that type of thing. We are in the process of going through the nuts and bolts with them as far as who's doing what. They have actually been proving to be a great partner. They're quite excited about this. And they are also going to be totally maintaining this once we finish. So this is not going to be on any obligation to the Rotary Club, which I'm happy, but neither to the township, as you will be happy to hear. They have actually stepped up their maintenance because of this project that we're trying to work out. They are now usually mowing it once a week, which they haven't done in a long time. So this awareness has kind of started the ball in small ways, and we hope to grow it in larger ways to make this, you know, more user-friendly for everybody. I don't know if anyone has any questions at all. I've touched over everything, but
So some of the photos, so we had the map just up here a second ago, and now these are some of the things that the Rotary Club is proposing that they're going to be helping with.
Yeah.
I have had the benefit of meeting with Whitney earlier and Emily that came in to talk to us about what they hope to do, which is why I suggested they come and let all of council know here this evening. It is very much a heavily used part of the municipality, and it is maintained or has been basically maintained by Parks Canada. So I'm very pleased to hear that they've stepped that up, because there's so many people that go take their children to the beach. The safety of the steps is an issue down to the beach.
yes, they did some work on the steps a few years ago because actually one of their members launches this kayak there all the time. So they saw a need for that. We proposed that they actually put a handrail in as well for safety.
So to the points already made, it's pretty basic stuff as far as what's there, and could be a lot nicer as far and welcoming to folks, both local and visitors alike. So your ask this evening is that
for a letter of support.
Okay, so that is to help facilitate applications for any further provincial or federal grants that might come available. So that is the ask this evening. Does any member of council have any questions for the presenter? Go ahead, Doug.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. And through you. I'm a regular user of the beach.
Great.
So I'm one of those people in the township that you're referring to. I just had you've answered my question around financial obligations. Thank you. Do you know if there will be any consultation with neighboring properties? Because I know from being there, there's 2 driveways that come off of that.
The St. Lawrence Park Commission, I believe, has been in contact with one neighbor. I don't know how far their outreach is going to go. Obviously, at first, to be honest, they were hesitant. We're going to bring more people in here and this and that. And we're like, well, exactly. There's a lot of people here that use this already. And we do want to bring more people into our community, don't we? So let's set, some safety things up, whether it's parking lot or life ring or whatever. I'm not sure if they're going to go any further with consulting. I don't know what their guidelines are as far as improvements, what they're required to do. I don't know.
Yeah, certainly that would be my feedback, that would be important.
Now, the
And-
community has definitely been talking to the committee has definitely been talking to all the neighbors. And just to go backwards a little bit on financial, we have gained some support from several of neighbors and people in the area who have a connection to this area. The Rotary Club's, of course, funding this, but we have also secured several donations that people want to see this happen, see this improved.
Great, thank you.
So we have good feedback from.
My follow-up question, if I may, just it feeds off of your comment about more people coming in. My observation in using it is there's frequently not enough parking. So
Yes.
I would encourage maximizing.
Yeah, we're going to
parking
try
spaces.
to put some barriers up, keep people off the grass, but also to designate it better than it is. Nobody wants big parking lots, but they're a necessity, but a little bit of more control, because right now you drive in, you're like, which way am I supposed to park?
And I've seen cars parked along the side of the parkway, which I think is inherently dangerous.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Definitely.
And I lived on the parkway. People park in front of my house and get out and hop on their bike and go, but I'm okay with it. I mean, as long as they're not on my lawn, but but I'm okay with it. I mean, it's all encouraging for the community to have people out there.
Thank you very much.
Any other question? Or go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. Very good project, and similar to the Hal McCartney Park that's the end of William Street, I
Yeah.
guess it is. Again, it's a similar sort of plan that you have put forth to have that done with the benches and tables and everything, which I'm well versed of since I helped participate in that one a little bit.
Your honor there has been at several of our ceremonies in town.
Yes.
Rotary Beach and Hal McCartney.
Yeah, I tend to be around. So as a child, I also went to this beach, so I do know it quite well. One of my questions is accessibility. I know that there's stairs. Is there going to be any other changes in accessibility for other people?
Well, we'll have the accessible picnic tables. We do have some benches and things like that. As far as down to the waterfront, I don't think St. Lawrence Parks Commission is keen to get that, because then once you get down on the beach, it's a different ball game. This year, the water's so high, it's never going to be truly safe, accessible. I
Yeah.
mean,
Just didn't know.
we're going to do what we can with the stairs, but they also, of course,
Yeah.
the waterfronts, they're concerned. They are dealing with anything on Cataraqui Conservation if anything comes up.
And as a follow-up question, St. Lawrence Parks Commission do water testing on a regular basis for the E. coli and cholera?
That has been on our MOU, something that has been in great discussion on their end. As we have been told that it's past the legal team. It hasn't come back to us with those changes yet. They were concerned about the designation as a beach, that their obligations for water testing, because I don't think they test it right now. One of our things that we propose, well, maybe you don't put beach on the sign. Seems like a simple thing to me. I don't know. You just call it Gray's Park instead. I don't know how their legal team has addressed that, because we haven't seen that legal review yet. That hasn't come back to us.
Because I believe they have other beaches that they're already doing it at.
Yes, they do. It's not inventing the wheel. It's just
Yeah.
whether they're willing to take that on it.
One more sample.
yeah.
Yeah. No, it's always good, but
People are going, we've argued, people are going to swim there anyway.
exactly.
So let's put as much safety in as we can.
Yes.
Put a sign up, it is what it is, and people will.
Right, Paul. Well, a very good project. Fully behind it. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, well, thank you very much for the presentation. After the delegation are finished, I may entertain a motion for that letter of support, but we'll get to that once we get through our delegation.
Thank you so much for taking your time to listen to us today.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can work on other projects in the community.
Happy to do so. So we have another delegation, Cross Cemetery Accessible Ramp. Heather Cross is here to speak.
Your worship, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before council. I'm here on behalf of the Cross Cemetery of Halstead Bay, located at 215 Cross Cemetery Road. That's a non-through road that you enter off the parkway and you travel north. My name is Heather Cross. I'm a member of the voluntary board with the cemetery. I'm here with Jim Thomas, who is also a member of our board and our cemetery operator. Our board submitted an application in the spring through the Cemetery Grant Program, requesting funding of $9,000 for the construction of an accessible concrete ramp from the Township Road across the access to the main entrance of the cemetery. It was deemed that because the ramp would be on township property, it was work outside of the scope of the grant policy. And so it wasn't entertained at that time. It was suggested, however, that the cemetery board meet with staff to see if there were some other options for us to proceed with an accessible ramp from the road to the main entrance. And in consultation with township staff, it was suggested that we make the delegation tonight and seek an encroachment agreement that would allow us to put the ramp on township property from the road to the entrance, and the cemetery would essentially become the owner of the ramp, but the property would remain township. The road is a cul-de-sac. It has minimal traffic. The ramp would be constructed of concrete with the appropriate rebar and that type of thing, and railings. There's minimal traffic to the cemetery in the winter. We do not bury after November. So it is not a case of needing to have the ramp open during winter months. We anticipate that the plowing of the road would indeed result in snowbanks at the entrance of the lower part of the ramp, and we don't see an issue with that. The railings will help to be a visual guide as to the location of the ramp, and we can certainly make them more visible for that purpose. Maintenance of the ramp would be the responsibility of the cemetery. We would add it to our liability coverage, probably not to comprehensive insurance coverage. The scope of the work would be overseen by Mr. Thomas, who is familiar with the codes and this type of work through his regular employment. So we are here to appeal to the council for the encroachment agreement that would make the ramp, while located on township property, a capital asset of the cemetery. With the encroachment agreement initiated, we would then ask council to advise staff to review the grant application with the idea that now that we have permission to put it on township property, but it is a capital asset of the cemetery, that it would fall within the policy for a grant under the Cemetery Grant Act. In 2026, I believe the funds for the grant for the cemeteries has already been allocated.
I believe, yes, we've already allocated it for this year.
I think there might be still some funds available. And we would ask that the review be done with a view to this year, as opposed to waiting for another year to see if some funds could be made available, as well as the permission. And if you have other funds available that might help with an accessible ramp in the township, that would also be appreciated. We do believe that building the ramp, providing a safe and gradual incline up what is now a grassy slope, is necessary to ensure the safety and access for individuals, especially with mobility needs. We believe it's an obligation, actually, for us to do what we can to make the cemetery more accessible. Several of the grave sites are only accessible through the main entrance. The ramp would also provide extra access for funeral processions that have to travel from the road into the cemetery to those areas. And if we're successful in obtaining permission to put a columbarium just inside the entrance, that will make the ramp even more practical and useful in the years to come. So thank you for your attention.
Questions for the presenter? Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, a couple things. Where the ramp is actually proposed, is there a need for a culvert to be underneath it? It's level, fairly level. Okay.
Could I ask Mr.
Yeah.
Thomas to?
Yeah.
Sorry, we have to have you at the microphone
Yeah.
because nobody online can
You're at
hear
the
you.
crest of a hill, so no.
Yeah, no culvert required because it's fairly level. And actually from the roadway to the gate, it's not that steep a grade either by what I've seen in the picture.
No,
Yeah.
op specs less than 10% and we fit within that.
Yeah. And then beyond the gate, is it hard packed on in so that people can transverse into there without slipping and sliding? Or is it gravel or is it just grass?
Grass.
Okay. And what is your capacity of the cemetery remaining? So it gives some lifespan to the cemetery.
Oh, I would think we've probably got room for another 100 full burials.
Okay.
And one full burial can also contain 5 cremation burials.
Right.
So there's still significant
Excellent. Okay.
life left.
Plus they're looking for a columbarium, so
Yeah.
That
so
would-
I think
Oh,
Columbarium,
quite a bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
those things,
that'd be
continuously
very
add.
helpful. Yeah. No, those.
that's the way of the future too.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's all the questions I had. So thank you very much.
Yep.
just to add to the credentials of Mr. Thomas, he used to work for Tackaberry Construction for many, wasn't it Tackaberry's that you worked for?
Yeah, I was there and then Cruikshank and then
So I bring that up to say that he knows what he's talking about when he's looking at these sorts of things. Is there any other questions for the presenters? Okay, so what I'll do is I'll also potentially entertain the request for an exemption from the cemetery grant policy as well. The way it's written in the delegation is pretty straightforward, I think. So before we go into briefings, would anybody like to bring forward a motion to provide council to provide a letter of support to the Rotary Club of Gananoque for the Grays Beach project? So Mr. Robertson and Mr. Maybe, any discussion on that? I just have to say that, without folks like yourselves and the folks that take care of cemeteries and all the volunteer organizations that help beautify and maintain our municipality in general, we would be very much lost without you. So thank you for recognizing, even though you're Rotary Club of Gan, that many of your members are township taxpayers here, and we're happy to hopefully welcome your support for whatever it might be, whether it's this project, but other future projects. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? So we'll draft up a letter of support and we'll make sure that it meets. So for the second one, I need someone to bring forward a motion to ask staff to bring forward a report for September in regards to the exemption for the cemetery grant policy and the encroachment agreement so that we can get everything. So we have Councillor Leclerc, Councillor Antoine Hartley. Any discussion on that? Go ahead, Councillor Leclerc.
Thank you. And through you, just a quick question to staff. I know we said that the grant process for this year was done, but was there any leftover
Good
funding
question.
in that?
Mr.
pot?
Renier? Reniers? Sorry.
Through you, Mayor. Yes, the total allocation was not allocated this year. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head.
There's about 47,000 or 4,700.
On your-
3,700.
Jeepers.
That was unallocated.
Okay. I'll go to the acting CAO.
Through you as well, with respect to it being an accessibility feature, staff need to do some more review, but there may be some flexibility under the community improvement plan funding to help with some of the accessibility features as well.
Okay, thank you. And sorry, follow up through you. I'm sure this will come back in the report, but do we have a ballpark figure on what the cost for this type of thing would be?
They said you were looking for $9,000. That's what, is that the overall cost or is there in-kind costs with that? No. The total cost. Okay.
Thank you. And I'm assuming that the report back will also include, just again, off the top of my head, I don't remember what the portion was that we already granted. So
Meaning what we've already sent out for cemetery grants this year.
for this group.
Nothing.
Nothing for
they
this
did
group.
Nothing for this group this year.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? And it is carried. So thank you very much, to both delegations this evening. Okay. So number 7 is briefings, and we have none this evening, and we do not have a public meeting. So we'll go on forward with staff reports. 9.1, capital budget for additional battery-powered fans. A motion comes from Councillor Leclerc, seconded by Councillor Robertson, that the Committee of the Whole recommends that Council approve $8,000 in additional 2026 capital budget for the purchase of 2 battery-powered ventilation fans. Discussion on this motion. Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. I found this one a little exhausting, so I'm hoping to clear the smoke here so I can get this. So in the capital budget, it said that we had passed $16,000 for 2 batteries and some accessories that go along with that. At this point, we're also asking for $8,000 more for 2 more, no accessories, I assume. But then later in the report, it says we have a donation of $16,000 for this. So it kind of mixed me right up with what is happening here. It's almost like $40,000 for the 4 fans. So if some clarity could be given so that I could clear the smoke away, I'd be happy.
Oh, man.
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, it's a little convoluted. So the original budget was $16,000. And the expectation is we'd get 2 fans and whatever accessories with that. When pricing it out, the fans actually came in less. So we're able to get 4 sets, which would cover off each station, if I'm correct now. It's going to be $24,000 instead of the 16. So it's better bang for your buck that way. So that's where we need the extra 8,000 in capital budget. Now we did get 16,000 in donations. So that will be put towards it. So net at the end of the day, we're using 8,000 from our reserve funds. We originally were going to use 16,000. So we're going to use the 16,000 donations plus 8 from the reserve. That's your 24. But currently in the budget, we only have 16,000 in capital budget to buy fans. So that's why we need the 8,000 in budget. It's being covered off through donations, but we need the budget approval to make that expenditure.
In order to spend it.
That might be
Clear
more
as mud.
convoluted, but
So the donations were coming from a number of places, or?
from 2 different places.
The 2 donations, Enbridge Gas and TransCanada Northern Pipeline, they put out donation or the ability for us to get money every year. And basically my idea was if we can use, as long as they're used for something that has to do with gas and such. So we use these fans to clear houses of carbon monoxide and such. So basically what we were trying to do with this was just to make sure that we didn't have a deficit in the capital. We had the money for it because of the donations, and we had the money because of the capital budget. But speaking with Phil, we thought we better just make sure that we capitalize all these properly, and then we're not looking like we're in a deficit at the end of the day.
Okay, it's just math. It's just a balance sheet. I know, it's very hard, but I'm glad that we're able to have this conversation, so it clears it up. But it's nice to also know that the funds are coming from Enbridge and Trans Northern Pipeline, or whatever it's called now. Because we do have the pipeline running right through the middle of the municipality. And, I would be happy to send a letter of thanks on behalf of the municipality if you were to draft that up. Because obviously having one at all four of the stations is very helpful as well. So, yes, Ms. Antoine Hartley.
Through you, Mayor. So we're getting 4 to replace gas ones?
That's yes, that's the
Okay.
plan. So the older gas fans, as we try to ventilate the house using gas powered fans that we're blowing air through, the suction blows through, pulls all the exhaust. And if you didn't have carbon monoxide in the house, now you do, because we've now filled the house again. So with these, we don't need power back. Well, we've got power backups. We don't necessarily need them because they're all battery powered. We can take those fans, put them right inside the house and push the air out, or we can push clear air in. So we're just trying to update our equipment. These are also about this thick when they're closed up and 2x2 wide, whereas the gas powered fans are almost 36 by 36. So they just take up more room on the truck. So we're just trying to change our equipment around to make it more better as well.
And their battery life and everything is
Yep.
is comparable to, okay, wonderful.
Those tools actually match our all of our auto extrication equipment that we've purchased over the last 4 years. Everything is a DeWalt battery, so it's all mix and match, so we can use them on anything that we need. And all 4 stations have exactly the same gear. So
Nice. Follow up?
Just as a follow-up, how long does the battery last in each fan? Have you got that?
through your worship, each fan can take, I think they take 2 to 4 batteries, and you've got probably 2 hours on the battery if it's running full speed.
tilt.
The other thing we have with them that you might have seen in there is they're called misting rings. So if we have a large fire day where we're trying to keep our members cool, we can hook it to a garden hose off the side of the truck, and it just mists the air to keep the firefighters cool as well.
Or the fairgoers.
Or-
That's what they've done in the past.
yeah.
And they've come to the fair and had basically a misting tent for everybody, which is kind of nice.
Or
when it-
Canada Day.
Yeah, that. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so motion remains on the floor to approve $8,000 in additional 2026 capital budget for the purchase of 2 battery-powered ventilation fans. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? And it is carried. Thank you. Next item is 9.2, donation of a retired pumper and surplus equipment to Firefighters Without Borders Canada, moved by Councillor Leclerc, seconded by Councillor Robertson. That the Committee of the Whole recommends that Council give approvals to donate a retired TLTI GMC Top Kick pumper and expired firefighting gear and equipment to Firefighters Without Borders. Discussion. Go ahead, Councillor Kelman, then Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I don't have any questions. I just think this is a really wonderful thing to do. And I know that prior to my time on council that we have donated equipment in the past. And I think it's an excellent thing to do.
Go ahead.
Yes, excuse me, and through you, Mayor. I too support the concept. I just had some questions around the specifics as I read through the material. Just wanted to confirm that it's Ontario regulations that govern the expiry dates of certain types of equipment, including trucks, I would imagine. I'm seeing a nod, so I'm going down the right path. So then it sort of answers my next question, but what came out of my head was especially in light of the item we just reviewed, was there's obviously no need to retain any of this for backup purposes. I know I'm still relatively new here, but I've heard tales of like breakdowns and things like that. So that's all sort of been exhausted in terms of duplication and?
Through your worship, this truck has been out of service for a few years. We maintain one extra pumper that we use at the training center, but it can also jump in case we have a massive breakdown on a truck. And then the other part is all of our pumpers and tankers are pumper tank or our frontline pumpers, so we can use those as backup as well. So this is completely out of
Past its
service
prime.
and past its prime. As well as a lot of this gear I can't do anything with anymore, even for training.
Perfect, thank you. And just if I may, one follow-up. I read that and I did a little research on this organization, commendable organization. I guess if there's any way we can ask or recommend that the equipment being donated be distributed within Canada, that would certainly sit well with me. If sort of as a priority, if Canada got first shot at it, I think that's something that I quite frankly strongly believe in. So.
And through your worship, that's exactly what we did with the last pumper that left out of Station 1 when I first came here, somewhere around 2020. It was earmarked to go to one of the Northern Reserves because there are a few different standards that they use up north with the National Fire Protection Group that is run through. Also outside of the province of Ontario, they've sent equipment around there too. All I have to do is ask, and they'll keep as much of it in Canada as we can, for sure.
Thank you.
The other thing just to also back up some of your comments, we have a couple of firefighters here within the department, or one paramedic, one firefighter, former firefighter, retired firefighter, that have gone down to help train folks in Dominican Republic. They take their vacation time and go. It was pretty incredible to see some of the videos and some of the things that they're trying to teach them how to protect their friends and neighbors. And some of these places are very, very underserviced for all things. But just so grateful to have somebody come and help teach them how to even do a water rescue. I think that was one of the other challenges that they were not well trained in. They may think they're the best swimmers in the world, but when it comes to actually rescuing somebody, it's a different story. So, Chief?
Through your worship, on that note, we do have the station captain for Station 1 that leaves in the next couple of weeks for Albania, I believe. I think I put that in there. I can never remember. Yes, Albania. He leaves in July, so he's gone for 2.5 weeks there to do some training for a number of the people over there as well.
So something that we can be proud of, that some of our folks are taking their own time to do that. Any other comments or questions in regards to the motion at hand? Go ahead, Councillor Antoine.
Just a question, like I know we don't do like an actual tax return or anything like that, but I know I do believe they give donation, charitable donation. Is that something that would be of any benefit to us to ask for one?
Through you, Mayor. At times we do get charitable donation receipts given to us. No, it has no practical value to us. As you said, we don't file an income tax return. We file the FIR, financial information return. There's no tax benefit at all to us.
We can give them out, but they're not really a benefit to us.
We don't pay taxes in the same respect as businesses.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? And we're carried. Thank you. Next item, dedication of road widenings. Motion comes from Councillor Maybe, seconded by Councillor Antoine Hartley. The Committee of the Whole recommends that Council Bylaw 2026-034 to dedicate road widenings as part of common highways. So motion is on the floor up for discussion. So I have Counselor Maybe.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. During the 25 proposals that are all there, were there any items that were contested or we had any feedback on from doing?
Through you. So these date back to 2011, so I can't speak to all of them, but it's generally a pretty routine matter when there's a land division consent with the road widening. It's pretty standard condition of approval. So no, these have all been conveyed to us. They're all in our ownership. We just had, it's a formal process to actually dedicate them as part of the road allowance.
So this is a formality.
Yeah.
Okay. Counselor Robertson.
Recognizing that comment, which I acknowledge, yes, it's sort of a technicality, but given that it's been 15 years, these have accumulated, have any of the roads actually been widened? I had occasion to drive on a couple of them on the way here. So is this more of a on paper type exercise as opposed to an actual, the road has been widened and we now maintain it?
That's correct. So if, what it is when somebody does a consent and create a new lot, under the official plan, we have the authority based on Planning Act policy to take a road widening. With our official plan establishes right-of-way widths for our road allowance, depending on the nature of the road, if it's an arterial or a collector or a local. So in many cases, in Lansdowne, let's say we don't have the full road width, or in Ivy Lee, we don't have the full 20-meter road allowance. So if somebody severs off a new lot, what we can say is that, okay, we support your lot, but as part of a provisional approval, when you're surveying the lot, you need to deed to the township land so that we have 10 meters from the center line of the road allowance. And so we have all of these little bits and strips of land all over the township. And if you look at the GIS property fabric, Ivy Lee is a good example because you can see where it comes across, and then it might dip in on a couple of properties where we've gotten the road widening. So it's more of a future thing where we're trying to build our road allowances to have the width we need so that at some point when we do have to do road improvements, we have the right of way width that we need to do it.
Thank you for the explanation.
So another example, because you've just recently joined us, is that there's lots of these bylaws that sometimes have even been passed and have not been put into practical day-to-day use because as I think it was before you might have moved on to Cliff Road, as I was driving down Cliff Road and recognized a brand new speed sign and I went, did I miss something at council? And it was a bylaw that was passed in 2011 that nobody put up the signs that far back. So it was kind of a shock, kind of like the parking signs in many of the settlement areas. These things were passed long before any of us sat around this table. But we appreciate the fact that the clerk and the rest of the staff are trying to clean up the bylaws and get things a bit more organized, because it was one of the former Councillor Lackey's pet peeves, was that we weren't always the best at keeping track of the things that had changed or being able to find things in a speedy manner. And it's also a pet peeve of the clerk as well, I think. So just all that being said is that we're trying to do better when we know better. So here we are. With that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? And we're carried. Next item. Appointment of counselor to the Recreation Working Group. Motion moved by Councillor Antoine Hartley, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council appoint Councillor Blank to the Recreation Working Group. Volunteers. Councillor Robertson, look at you, Keener. That's great. Love it. Okay, anybody else want to fight him for it? Wow, this is a pretty quiet meeting. Okay, so I'm going to put Councillor Robertson's name in here. With that, I will call. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? And we're carried. Thank you very much for volunteering. Staff reports for information. There are none this evening, and we have information items, Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness 2026. So that's a piece of correspondence for information items. And the next would be rise and report minutes from committees, working groups, and local boards. So we have Cataraqui Conservation Full Authority Board, May 27th and 29th, April 29th, 2026 meeting minutes. And then we have the library board, May 25th, 2026 meeting minutes. Are there any comments or questions in regards to those minutes that were circulated? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. I did have a question on the CRCA. They have fully changed into the new, no, okay, because that's what I was kind of trying to get through the minutes, whether it's happened or whether it hadn't.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship, and through you. It is definitely the focus of most of our meetings now, but the transition it won't actually take place until February of 2027 is when it's to be complete. So they're just going through the stages now. But at this point, CRCA is still functioning as it always has. And so transitioning will start. We have to do an earlier budget. We're going to do the budget in July. We have to do an earlier budget so that that's all done in time for the transition process. So it's all been quite well laid out. But we don't get all of the information way ahead of time. So there's sort of steps we're going through, but the transition has not happened yet.
That's $1 million question. Is it going to go through?
Yeah,
Oh,
yes.
it's done.
Yeah, it's been approved. Yeah, yeah. So we're going from 32,
To 10.
36 to 9.
9.
It was originally 7. Now it's 9 regions. Mhm.
So we will be linked with the Bay of Quinte.
Yes. And
That's
ours
very fun.
actually, when they went from 7 to 9, our area was one of the areas that switched. We were with a more eastern group, a St. Lawrence group. Now we're Eastern Ontario, Eastern Lake Ontario. So yeah,
Pretty much.
yeah.
The only challenge is that Quinte Conservation has a different view on marine facilities and stuff like that, very contrary to Cataraqui. Like the whole purpose of this exercise, the hope was to standardize things in a more efficient way. But it'll be interesting to see because there's the biggest complaint that most people have with conservation authorities is that they were all governed by the same policy or the same overview, the same regulation. Thank you. But they all interpret it differently, every single one. So the frustrations are if you're somebody working in South Nation versus working in Quinte versus working in Rideau Valley, every process for permitting was different. So it's very frustrating for, builders and people that are doing work up that way. That's the goal. That's what they're trying to do. Whether or not it happens will remain to be seen.
Mhm. Through you, Madam Mayor, we are the largest of the group that is being amalgamated into our regional conservation authority. CRCA is the largest, has the biggest budget and the most staff, and I think almost equal to having the largest amount of property. So I think there's some hope that the direction of CRCA will be followed, but
What's the name of the new one for us?
it's Eastern Lake Ontario, I
Eastern
think is what it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
That's good.
by all means.
Question for Councillor Kelman. Any discussion on representation from municipalities yet at the regional level? And if so, any observations on whether or not the township will have a seat at that table?
Yes, we will not as a township because in 2-tier municipalities, the upper tier will be represented. So the county will have a representative sit on it, but not our township.
It's unfortunate. Thank you.
It is unfortunate.
It is unfortunate, but to be perfectly frank, it's been a struggle even to get a member of council here to sit on that board. So I had the pleasure of doing it for a year myself, which was good for my own knowledge and understanding of what they did, or what they do, I should say. But if it's something you're passionate about, I would say that I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. Certain municipalities are always very active in the discussions. My experience was on the board. And then there was many municipalities who had their folks barely showed up. So if it is something that you're passionate about and you want to do, you should put your name in for it, because I think it'll be a big learning curve, but I think it's really important that we have good representation from the area. Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just as a follow-up, so the county is actually going to have more than just one jurisdiction then here, because this only goes to part
So
of
we'll
the
have
county,
two,
so there's
we'll
going to
have
be
two
another.
representatives from the county,
There's
one
actually-
going east and one going east, one going west. I pointed the wrong way.
What about the Ottawa? Because that's not part of that east one. It's
Yes.
they're separate, right?
Yes, so everything on the other side of Cataraqui is going to the eastern,
Right.
whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
That I haven't memorized the names of the new ones yet.
Through you, your worship, I'll post the map of the new regions so you can see what the division will be. It's probably
Okay,
it is in the minutes. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions in regards to the minutes that were provided for either the library or Cataraqui? Okay. Notices of motion, Ms. Leclerc.
Yes, thank you. And through you, I'd just like to bring a notice of motion for a naming policy. We had a conversation a couple weeks ago about naming benches, and it just struck me that we don't have one in the township. So just bringing that forward. Thank you.
Okay. So you can work with the clerk to bring forward proper wording for next week. Any other notices of motion? Oh, we can't just take them from the floor. Sorry, I handled that. I thought it was the other way around. Okay, so the motions that I asked for from the floor are considered notices of motion and will be finalized at council next week. Okay. Any other notices of motion? Okay, statements from councillors. Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple interesting ones. The biggest one is, as you know, I was away, so traveling across the border was fine. No issue anywhere. So I encourage people, if you feel the need to go, you can. It's not going to be a big deal. The casino event, that is happening. What's the date on that, if anybody has that? This Thursday. Okay, I thought so. So I do need some information for that. The volunteers the next week.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I was getting them confused. I
Yeah,
do.
because
It's in my schedule.
because the volunteers thing, July 15th, right? Yeah.
That is but where is that? At the Glen House. The first one is
Okay.
at the Rockport Mart.
Yeah. bar.
OLG
Yeah,
event. Thank you.
Yeah, just trying to make sure. July 25th in Gananoque, the Bark Bash for those who have puppies and like to go there. Also, July 30th, La Festivals will be happening, which a crier from Ottawa and myself participate in. And Canada Day, thank you very much for participating in the Canada Day and the Rib Fest activities that happen. Very good turnout. They actually did say that Friday was almost a record at the Rib Fest for participation and booze. Yeah. It didn't look that way when we were there. It was very
There at
light.
4 o'clock because.
I've actually
you
talked
get
to
off
them
work.
to try to get that later on in the thing. So again, thank you, Madam Mayor, for coming to that. And then Councillor Kelman and myself are going to Ottawa for AMO. And one thing I just heard of, Director of Planning, the GIS, how's that going? Because I know I had that question a while back, which we answered that you're still working on it, mainly for people who are in that business and trying to get information.
GIS updates?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
it's at the county level.
yeah.
So
Yep.
they're in the process of finishing the growth study.
Yep.
We have a presentation coming, I think. It's this month. Yeah, it'd be this month because we're not in. So I think planning committee might be Wednesday. I haven't read my packages that far in
Yep.
advance, so.
Okay.
But that's all wrapped up and part of that. There's a lot of different moving pieces. with
Yes,
Going
okay.
on at county right at the moment, so.
I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other statements or announcements? Go ahead, Councillor Roberts, and then Councillor Antoine Hartley.
I may have missed the library minutes, but I just wanted to express my appreciation for and support for the inventory analysis that's going to be evidentiary based. I think that's a real step in the right direction, especially with some of the library issues that are going on in other parts, other provinces within this country. So I think evidentiary based approach is the way to go. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Joan Hartley.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. So Canada Day in Sealy's Bay was, I guess it'll go down in history as heat, hydro, and howling storms. And which ended up with us having to postpone our fireworks. But until that point, we had fun. We did not have a huge turnout because of the heat. It was just too warm. I'd like to thank everybody that did turn out. We had, at our opening ceremonies, we had MP Barrett and MPP Clark, and our mayor, who took the time to come out and talk to everybody. It was great. I think our parade was well attended, but it was brutal in how hot it was. Councillor Kelman, Councillor Fody, myself, and the mayor. I think we'll be riding in something next year. That's it.
With a fan on, with one of those neck fans that everybody wears.
Yeah, it was wild. Anyways, but we got through it. I think I want to put a shout out though to our Sealy's Bay Lyndhurst town crier, George Williams, because that costume, he was our town crier, right? So that costume must be brutal, and you would know, I suppose. And he walked in the parade. He led the parade along with our own Danny Rontry, who's out of the hospital and was able to ride the scooter and lead the kids with their bikes and stuff. I would like to put out a real big thank you to the township staff. When we arrived there in the morning, we had no hydro, so that would affect the bathrooms and the band and everything else. And they brought in generators, and they brought in extra porta potties and everything that would help with our comfort that day. And they were, throughout the day, the student employees were checking in with us all the time, and we really appreciated that. And a big shout out to them for that. And finally, a big thank you to Sealy's Bay Area Residents Association for their resilience in that day and making it happen. And even though we postponed the fireworks, you will be able to enjoy them on August 1st at dusk.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Any other statements or announcements from councillors? Seeing none, we'll go forward with the mayor's update. Just a quick thank you to the graduating classes that invited me to speak on behalf of the municipality. It's always great to go out and speak to young folks who are moving through life, hitting different milestones. So part of my speech is always on behalf of the council and the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands. I appreciate and I wish them all the best, but I also remind them about learning in school is one thing, but learning and giving back to your community is very important. So just so you understand, if you weren't there, some of the messaging that I try to put across, because, and I know that everybody's got to do volunteer hours, but some kids just go crazy with it. Like there was one person out in Rito that had 600 hours or something crazy, which is absolutely wonderful. But, you know, you can't always look around and say, wonder who's going to do that. You really should often look in the mirror. And, you know, all of us that give of our time here and stand for election, you know, it's not always the easiest job, but somebody has to do it. So whether it's a volunteer position, library board, whether it's Laffer, Sabera, the Rockport Group, Sealy's Bay, Lyndhurst, you know, we're all very dependent on the folks who give their time so generously. So that leads me into Canada Day. I wore pants, ill-advised. Um, it was really great to see so many people who did brave the heat. I've never been so happy to see a freezy in my life. I literally ate the longest freezy known to man. Thank you. Shout out to Ridgeway who hands them out to us every year. It was necessary in that heat. So the fact that you guys were able to endure that during the day, I very much appreciate the effort that would have taken. I went and took a break and went for a swim in the lake, and then went on to Gananoque. But just another thing about extreme weather. You know, we've been putting out in our communications to the public that we have cooling centers, we have our libraries, we have in extreme situations. We had a tornado touchdown back at the outlet. So there was one property owner who lost 27 trees at once. All that's standing is the cottage, thankfully. You know, it was not any human loss. There's so many people without power on the hottest day. And I have to admit this because it's part of my guilty conscience. I was heading back out to the lake to see my mom, and I had baked some cinnamon rolls, and I saw some hydro guys at the corner of Sand Bay Road and County Road 3, and I almost pulled over to hand them the cinnamon buns. And I'm like, that'll just make a mess because they were all gooey and icing and stuff. And then I went back, and all I could think of was they must have had the hardest couple of days, because not only is everyone without power and air conditioning and cooling and all that sort of stuff, they're cranky as it is. And these folks have literally worked 24 hours a day to try to get power back up and running. So we're very grateful to the hydro folks, grateful to all the neighbors who came out to help their neighbors, because where my mom is renting a cottage, there was a number of trees down that neighbors chipped in to help each other out. So often these extreme weather things show us who we can count on. Having said that, when we have events like what was happening out in Sealy's Bay or in Gananoque, when choices are made to cancel events because of potential weather patterns, you know, I know some people were disappointed that Gananoque canceled or Sealy's Bay canceled. However, safety is paramount. Risk and liability is something that we all have to take very seriously. We don't want anybody hurt. We don't want anybody to have a heat stroke or whatever. So, you know, always keep in mind that we're doing things with the best of intentions. Speaking of hot weather, Lansdowne Fair is not this weekend, but next weekend. And so very much encourage you to take in the fair and all the wonderful things that happen there. Delta Fair is the long weekend in August or the weekend after?
No, it's
No, weekend after. Weekend after.
Yeah, it's the
Right.
23rd to 26th.
Yeah, that's right. So anyways, lots of fairs, lots of other things to do in the area. We've gone from one extreme to the other when it comes to heat. And before I came to the flag raising ceremony here today, so I'd like to congratulate John Paul Jackson for his winning artwork for the 25th anniversary flag, which was raised here at 5:30 this evening before council. It's a true testament to 25 years of coming together of three smaller municipalities that were able to make a more efficient, I use the word efficient because we are able to service our residents in a way that would be very difficult if we had the small tax bases that were individualized at that point in time. And I'm grateful to those who got out of their own way to foresee the future as an amalgamated township. I know there are other municipalities that still struggle because of the lack of funds and lack of tax base to meet basic requirements. So I think that's all I have to add here tonight. But very grateful to the staff who've worked so hard during this heat, helping organize the flag raising. So Tracy Holland's not here right now. But all the people that helped out in Sealy's Bay and all the work that's happening out on township roads and parks and what have you, because the one thing I did notice is that the rain came so hard is that it washed a lot of the gravel on the brand new paths in Sealy's Bay. And there was one other thing. You will see folks from the township at these events. They are trying to make sure that the voters list is as complete as possible. So if you or you know somebody that isn't on the voters list, make sure that they use the QR code, check the list, make sure they're on there, and there's people that are able to help you make sure that you're on there. So, okay, that's all I have to say tonight. There is no closed session, so we'll move on to adjournment. Moved by Councillor Maybe, seconded by Councillor Antoine Hartley, that we adjourn at 7:05 p.m. All those in favor? Any opposed? And we're carried. Thank you, folks.